Based on your experiences, how is higher education valued in England in comparison to the US?
Well, at least when I was going there, so my experience of going to university in England was, and this was, 23 years ago, 24 years ago, was very few people went to university. And so probably only about 3% of the population went to university. In America now, only about 37% of the population get a 4-year degree. And in Europe now, it's actually increased to more. But when I was going, most people did not go to university. This was really, it was a real privilege. So I think a lot of people were kind of skeptical of university. They thought it was a time when people kind of sat around and read a lot of books. But this was a time when you didn't need to go to university to go into the workforce. So I think now it's the same as here. Now it's seen as almost, there is a belief that you cannot live without higher education. But clearly the vast majority of people do. Most people do not get a 4-year degree. So I also think there's a lot of misunderstanding about it. I think people presume that if you get a degree, you will get a job immediately. And I think getting a degree and getting a job are two very different things. I think my job is to teach people how to think critically, and then your job as students is how to take that and apply it to the workforce. So I think people get frustrated when they invest a lot of time and money in higher education and it doesn't pan out with a job. So I think there's a respect for it, there's a sense that you can't live without it, and I think there's also a frustration with it today.
What aspects of higher education do you feel are lacking in America as opposed to England?
I don't know about lacking. There are differences. When I was going, we focused a lot earlier. I actually think the American system is just fine. In England, we had to focus very young. Maybe when we were 16, we would focus then. And so at 16, you would go from taking 10 different subjects to taking maybe 3. When you apply to university in England, you apply for a major, but that's all you do. So if you're a history major, all you do are history classes. So it's not a liberal education like it is here. So I think that my experience of education here, it's more of a well-rounded education. I think in England, you're expected to decide at quite a young age what you're interested in. You don't have the chance to change it. But for people who do know what they want to do, I think the English system does have advantages in that it allows you to specialize at a much younger age and to really run with it and not have to take other subjects. The disadvantage is it doesn't allow you to change your mind.
What do you think our universities can do to better prepare their students for the workforce?
Well, that's the thing about confidence. So I can teach you all the skills to think. But what then you need to do is be able to tell an employer why you should be hired. And the hard thing is, in university, people end up feeling very specialized. So I can do this really well, but I can't do these other things. And that's a problem in the workplace, because if you don't find the ideal job, then you feel you're not qualified. When in fact, you are highly qualified for any job that might appear in front of you. So I think universities should, and what we're trying to do is to actually equip students to explain to employers why they should be employed. So now students think that there aren't enough jobs for them, but employers think there are not enough students for them, because they meet these, on paper they look very amazing as students, but when they interview them they're quite inarticulate about why they should be hired. So I think the final thing for students to learn before they leave is how to now explain, these are my skills, this is why they can be applied in your workplace.
How do teaching styles differ in the United States and England?
And when I was in university, we would attend lectures. So if you're doing a course, you wouldn't have the same lecturer throughout the course. You'd have teachers who would come in who specialize on those topics. And then you would have a tutor, and then you would go to a lecture every week, and then with a group of people. Then you'd have a tutor, a professor assigned for you for the year. And you would meet with that tutor maybe one-on-one, or maybe just 3 of you for an hour a week. courses would last a whole year, whole academic year. I think nowadays that there's a lot more, teachers are covering a lot more material themselves in America, and it's probably because they're better qualified now. I think we're able to teach on a wider subject. Teaching, I don't think you get as bigger classes in England as you get here, like 200, 300, 400, these big kind of mega classes. You wouldn't get that there. Yeah, I think those are the main differences.